Welcome to Murrayville, just over the Victorian side of the border in the Mallee. Let's check out the footy ground. Here's the Murrayville footy ground, home to the Blues. Now, it didn't used to be the Blues until recently. You can see that logo up here, based off the old Melbourne Demons logo, with the monogram there and then the lettering of the Blues on top. These club rooms here are very new. They've actually been built in front of the old ones. Yeah, not too bad. Look pretty decent, to be honest. But yeah, very interesting story here at Murrayville. So currently Murrayville play in the Murray Valley League. This is an interesting competition. It's derived from the old Riverland Independent League, and basically it's just like some of the smaller clubs around the Riverland, and you get pretty close to Adelaide as well. So the furthest trip is to Sedan Cambrai, I think that's how you say it, and Cambrai is 3 hours away from here, so a very long trek. We're over the Victorian border here, but none of the other clubs in that league are in Victoria. Murrayville is in a bit of a weird spot. You see, before this, Murrayville were the Bulldogs, and they were the Bulldogs for many years, playing in the Mallee Football League. Now, that finished up a couple of years ago, and they had to make a decision where to go. All the other clubs, they merged and went the River Murray way, where Murrayville actually stayed its own club. They were the only club to stay on its own. And yeah, went the Murray Valley way instead. It's not as big of a competition. They can actually stay their own side, but definitely it's a downgrade. In the Murray Valley comp, they only have one grade of football, no juniors, so I guess the juniors play for the Southern Mallee Suns, based in Ngallo and Pinnaroo. So that's interesting, not great. There's only 2 grades in netball, I think, not as much netball, so it's very much a smaller competition, but Murrayville could remain their own side. They just had to change because Wonka are the Bulldogs in that league, so they had to become the Blues. Bit of a Carlton influence maybe here, I don't know, they chose the Blues. I don't know if it's the most interesting change from the Bulldogs to the Blues, but nevertheless, it's not too bad. They actually won the league last year, so they have been successful already in the new Murray Valley comp. 2022 was the last season of the Mallee Football League. The main issue was a lack of juniors. The Mallee region is actually one of the only places where the population is going down, and it's going to continue to go down. Farms are getting bigger and people are getting bored out and whatnot. The machinery's better. There's a lot of cropping in this area, so they have these big machines on their farms that do all the work, so they don't need to have a lot of people around like they used to. In the juniors, particularly under 16s, the level probably wasn't very good. They had a lot of younger guys playing up level, so it wasn't great for the juniors' development, and they wanted to improve on that. So most of the clubs in the league merged, and then the juniors could play at a higher level in the River Murray Football League. Murrayville was different. They went the Murray Valley route, meaning they only have one football team now, the seniors, so they don't have to buy in as many guys from Adelaide or whatever, but the juniors don't have a club to play for anymore, which is pretty sad. I guess they all play for the Suns, Southern Mallee Suns, or if they live on the other side of town, the more Victorian way, they could play for Oyen Kangas. Oyen is an hour away from Murrayville, and then the games are in the Mildura area, so that's a further hour. But then again, Murray Bridge is 2 hours away as well, so it's probably just as bad. The ironic thing is that Murrayville won the B grade and the under 16s in that final ever Mallee Football League season. And then the next season, they don't have a reserves, they don't have any juniors. So it's pretty sad, but I guess it was a good way to finish things up. I have to say this over was quite nice. It's raining now during the video, but it hasn't rained for ages and ages, and this ground is looking quite good considering what's behind it, and it's not too green. Not the biggest goal post, I'm going to say, that actually quite small, but nevertheless sometimes creates a few extra goals with the small goal posts. And the lights on this side of the ground aren't as flash. I'm going to say they train mostly on the other side. Here's the scoreboard, still one of the old school ones. Fairly decent view up here. You got the score, the numbers down here, but the actual club names are here, and they're the old Mallee Football League clubs. So here you got Peak, it's on there, nothing. Anyway, Peak and Karoonda have merged. Border Centenara, they're part of Coorong Cats now. Murrayville have stuck out and they're their own club. So Murrayville, they were the Bulldogs in the Mallee Football League. Prior to that, they played in the Lameroo Districts League, and prior to that, they actually played in Victoria. So for a lot of Murrayville's history, they did play in Victoria, apart from a couple of years in the 1920s in the Pinnaroo and Border League. That league disappeared a while ago now, but they played over in the Mallee League. Became the Northern Mallee League after they left, but they did join the Lameroo and Districts in 1979 and were super successful in the 80s. And they actually made 8 grand finals in the 1980s decade, winning 5 of them. So obviously, I'm going to guess that the Victorian Mallee was actually stronger than the Lameroo Districts, maybe. I'm going to say maybe Murrayville was just a good team anyway. So they came over and were very successful in that period. So I'm sitting here in the home bench. Strangely, the opposition one is all the way down there in the opposite flank. Apparently the old bench used to be just near here, but they've moved it so far away. I haven't seen benches so far away in on a ground before. Murrayville is well known for the Spawn family. You got Rachel Spawn, who was a champion basketballer. She played for Australia and Adelaide. Also Trent Spawn, I think that's her brother. He played for Carlton. And there's also Kieran Spawn, who played for Essendon as well. So quite a good, strong line of Spawns out of Murrayville. In this area, 1960 was the year that everything changed. Murrayville used to play in the Northwest Mallee Football League, a very small competition literally based around this area, on this road, up around this area. But that league finished and most of those clubs merged together. That's what we're going to check out in this video, all those old grounds. Murrayville is the only one still standing. In the 1950s, the Northwest Mallee League started to decline, and Murrayville twice attempted to join the Lameroo Districts League, but that appeal was rejected. Underbool, the dominant side of this league, took that cue and joined the Mallee League, and this left the Northwest Mallee League with only 4 clubs. There was Murrayville, Danyo, Imperials and Veterans, a team for players over 35 years of age, which I've never heard of before. That's an interesting concept to have in a league. They played with only those 4 clubs in 1957 and 58, but in 1959 the league just finished. There was no football at all. Some players went the Underbool way, some players went the Pinnaroo way, but then 1960 was when everything changed and the United Football Club was set up. 1960 would be a rough year for Murrayville in the Mallee League. They only won the 1 game, but in 61, a few of their players came back from Underbool, and in 62 and 63, they won the Mallee Football League Premiership. Prior to the merger, Murrayville used to wear maroon with a gold V, and then they changed to the Bulldogs, Murrayville United. That name sort of stuck around for a bit, and then just became Murrayville after a little while, but that's what they used to wear before wearing the Bulldogs colours. It's a little bit of a shame they didn't go back to the maroon and gold. After they had to change leagues just recently, but they went to the Blues and that's what they've gone with. Now these club rooms, being the new ones, have to not have much memorabilia in it. I've seen it all over Victoria, especially when they get these new club rooms. They don't really let them hang like premiership photos on the wall and, you know, flags and premiership cups. It's all like real basic in there at the moment, but I'm sure they'll get there. It's just I don't know if it's just Victoria, but I've seen it in Victoria a fair bit. They do have like the Murrayville bar and everything like that, but yeah, it's not really great. It's not a great way to represent the community, in my opinion, but for whatever reason, they force clubs to do this. A strange thing at this ground is that there is a golf course surrounding it, so you can see, I think that's the tee there of one of the holes, and then one of the holes is literally on the flank there, so quite a strange setup to have the golf course surrounding the footy ground, but I don't mind it. The netball courts here have been done up. Got the Blues logo up here. When was it? It doesn't have a date on there, but they were part of the Mildura Rural City Council. Pretty crazy that Mildura, I don't know, is it 2 hours away? It's a fair way away from here anyway, and they're the ones calling all the shots here. So they got new club rooms here as well, just in front of the old ones, which is pretty rare to see, and they're not very big. This was the club room in here. It's a really quite small facility, so despite not having much memorabilia in the new facility, I'm sure they'd be very pleased with it. Lots of room for to have events and functions after games and whatnot. So we got over here Trent Spawn, who is from Murrayville. This is a retail jumper because the player issues would have a raised monogram, but that's all right. A lot of clubs have retail jumpers in their change rooms. United Murrayville Reunion. There you go. They merged in 1960. Recreation Reserve. This is obviously still used as like a gym or something like that. So yeah, that's pretty cool. I didn't expect to see the old club rooms here. They're definitely fairly basic, and I can understand why they wanted to make some new ones. What else we got? Murrayville All Stars. They only count it from 1960 when Murrayville all merged. A few cranes spawn. There's a few spawns there. Definitely Calms, Richie Calms. Old Pennant there. That's actually pre-merger in the Northwestern Mallee Football League. That's how old that is. That's crazy. Very cool to see that. What else? We got the stuff over here. Murrayville Football Club. This only starts in 1960 when the merger happened. So it's interesting. I thought there would be a lot of pre-1960 stuff. And then that must be the premiership. So really successful in this era. Just when they left the Victorian Mallee and come the South Australian way. Must have been a successful period for them. Then we got a lot of spawns there. But yeah, pretty cool. Out the back of the old club rooms, we have the golf club room. And there's actually a bit of the Bulldogs here. So the Bulldogs from 1960 until just 2022. So that's a fairly significant part of their history. Don't know. These don't look overly used, but maybe they are. Fairly basic sort of setup. Green fees in here, I suppose. And I was talking about the golf course. Well, here is one of the holes. Someone's been putting out some turf and really trying to green up this place, making it look quite presentable. But yeah, got the green here. Well, not so much of a green, but you know what I mean. Sand scrapes or whatever they call these setups. Pretty cool. There's also like I'm going to say this is a man-made lake. They're trying to make like a little nice setup here for the community of Murrayville. Strangely, you can see the silo there. The town's on the other side of that, so the footy ground and everything, golf course, it's all on the other side of the town, so it's not really as accessible for walking because you got to go get past the highway, but nevertheless it's still like a nice little spot. A pretty quiet town here. Unfortunately, there's a few abandoned shops around here. Light Refreshments Milk Bar. Looks like it's private. Looks like they've done that recently though. Then some, is this an antique shop or something like that? There's an actual chemist, which is good. There's an actual shop here. Pretty small setup. You got the school, pub, supermarket, but notice board of some old shop. Here's another one, which I don't know if this is even either. That's sick. Westinghouse. Geelong Cats. Looks like it's some type of gift shop, that one. Oh, wow, this is old. This is a proper milk bar. Sunraysia Daily. Now we are in the Mildura Council area. Still not really that close to Mildura, but some very old signs here. The Age, Kodak. Imagine getting bloody photos printed out. This news agency sign. Haven't seen that for ages. And so yeah, this was the news agents in Murrayville. Yeah, pretty cool. I wonder when this closed. It might not have been as long ago as you think. You have the Victorian signs, but you also got the Advertiser, the Adelaide paper. So some people would have got the Age, being a Victorian. We are in Victoria, but Victorian paper. But some people might have got the Advertiser. A lot of South Australian influence in Murrayville, that's for sure. So here's a Murrayville Oval, but let's check out some of the grounds of the clubs that merged with Murrayville. On here is a perfect map, so we're going to go Murrayville, Danyo, Cowangie, Tutye, Boinka and Linga. Apart from that way, it's Underbool way. Wellpip Underbool was the footy club around that area. They don't exist anymore, but they still play at Underbool. We'll go to Linga in this video. Alright, so here's Danyo. They played until 1959 when the Northwest Mallee League finished and went to Murrayville. There's just a bit of an opening here. There's not really much of a ground. Did look at an old shop across the road, but that's all here at Danyo. Kind of surprising because this was one of the last standalone teams apart from Murrayville in that Northwest Mallee League until they all wound up at the end of 59. So yeah, not too much to see here, but another ground to tick off the list. Probably Murrayville's greatest footballer to never play at the top level actually started at Danyo as a 12-year-old. He went on to play for Murrayville, or the United Murrayville Football Club, for most of his career, but he did start at Danyo. The key position, Richie Combs, was invited down to Essendon on 2 occasions, but decided not to stay in the city and preferred to stay at Murrayville. He was a star in the Mallee League and was part of the North Central Mallee Interleague team. They combined and played the whole Interleague across the whole state and won, which was a huge achievement for such an area with a small population. Combs was only 18 when he won his first league medal. He would win 3 in the Mallee League. He would also go on to Dimboola and kick 100 goals in the Wimmera League, which is a very strong competition. A little bit left of the old court here. Don't know if you can see any lines or anything, but...
Might be the hole for the post.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, nice. Just got mallee trees growing in it now. So you can see the... Oh, yeah, you see the fence. Yeah. Would have been the fence here. Yeah. Of the tennis court or netball court. And then there's... Nah, there's literally trees growing in it now, so that's pretty rare. Just, yeah. You can see where the court was, but now there's trees growing in it. the only bit of line left on the court is over here.
Yeah, there you go.
Oh, there you go. Jeez, imagine that. There's literally a tree right next to it. Crazy. So here's Cowangie. They were a standalone team until 1949. This is actually the cricket oval here. The football was actually back here, so a very small place that actually had 2 different ovals. Yeah, they played the Northwest Mallee League until that finished, but they were playing as Imperials. So 49 they merged with Tutye to form Imperials, and luckily Mike was actually able to show us inside the hall, and there was all the memorabilia in there, which was pretty sick, and even an old program which had all the clubs in it, which is, I didn't expect to see that, so that was really cool to see. But yeah, Imperials, they wore red with a white V until the merger in end of 1959. They became part of Murrayville. Here's the Cowangie Hole. Very cool to see this classic old hole. It's an actual town here, and they merged to form Imperials. There we go. That's unreal. And then there's the original Murrayville there. So that's what they wore, rowing with a gold V. Where's the original one? All the pennants. 49, 36. So here's a Cowangie tennis club, and it's a gypsum court, which I've already seen very much before. It's pretty sick, I reckon. Looks like it gets dug up a little bit, but I don't know, clay does and all that does as well. Pretty cool. Looks fairly recently used for actual games. It's got like a Vic Health tennis thing here, which looks like it's maybe from the 2000s, 90s, I don't know, 2002. On here it's got 2008-9. Oh yeah, 2009-10. That might have been the last team. Were they still playing here in like 2010?
Nah, I think it all moved to Oyen and they all played
Oh.
I think.
Yeah,
Because
moved to Oyen.
others couldn't maintain their court.
Yeah, right. Fair enough.
And then this is basically just
Reunion.
reunions and like that cow cup or whatever we call it.
Oh, okay. Cow Cup. Yeah, I didn't consider they would go Oyen way. The old courts.
Yeah, and then that was like the club rooms where those sticks.
Yeah, down the end there. That's crazy. It's weird that they moved the courts to the other spot, but it's not very far away. Actually overlooks the two ovals that were here, so there's a lot of empty space out here, and they've also used it for golf now. Around here, there's golf course all around here. Here's the corner shop. This is probably the most interesting town on this road. Bit of a ghost town, really. But yeah, you got that shop here, and then there's a post office agent here. I don't know if they're still going, to be honest, but a little bit of a garden set up, the railway. All these towns are built upon the railway. I guess the railway may have come first and then they built the towns after it, but yeah, I don't reckon this is getting used. What the hell? From a phone. CA. I'm sure someone knows Commonwealth of Australia, I don't know, but old shop here. What was this? Does it say on the outside? There's a BP down there, I saw. But just a pretty rare old shop. Can't see what it is. What's over here? So this is actually where Larry Perkins is from, the famous race car driver. He's from a farm near here. His old man and his son are also race car drivers, so fair bit of pedigree, even though it's a pretty small area. Avenue of Honour, so for the war, First World War, Supreme Sacrifice. It's pretty full on, isn't it? There's the shop actually here. I think that's the same one. Is it? Don't know. Might be down the road, one down the road. Anyway, this actually does have history in this shelter here. From the beginning of occupation, Cow Plains. There's controversy over the spelling of cow or cow. K or C. But they eventually had Cowangie here. Railway line reached Cowangie 1912. Okay, so the town was here first. But it's probably built upon the railway. A few little bits and pieces here of the streets. Pretty crazy to think of now. It's very abandoned. You got the big desert there. And here's some of the other towns in the Northwestern Football Association, Northwest Mallee. Tutye, Danyo. They planned out Danyo but never got around to actually filling it up too much. And then Linga. So yeah, pretty cool. Great to see this sort of stuff around the place. Here's Tutye, the team that merged with Cowangie to form Imperials, and I'm going to guess they played at Cowangie rather than here. It's not a very big area at Tutye. It's not as much here as a town either, so just a bit of an open area here and some scrub off the side of the road. There is a cricket pitch here though, so we'll have a look at that. You can just see the remnants here of the cricket pitch. Not necessarily in the middle of this opening, but trees have started growing back since when they last played cricket. But yeah, pretty sick. Concrete here, getting a bit covered now, but you can see it poking out from underneath. So here's Boinka, and I couldn't really find much here. There is a cricket pitch, amazing. You could not see this on Google Maps. It's covered in trees, but there you go. They merged down the road with Linga to form Centrals, this football club, but obviously it's not much of a ground now. You can see the trees everywhere, but I did not expect to see this cricket pitch. That's so cool. So Centrals, they merged in, or they formed in 1935, and they played in the Northwest Mallee until 1959 when that ended, and I guess they became part of Murrayville, I assume. So yeah, pretty crazy that we're all the way out here, and that's part of Murrayville. So here's the tennis courts here. Pretty cool that this is still remaining. You got the umpire seats on the poles here. Pretty cool. Someone's welded this all up. I guess this is gypsum court. Got the you can really just hanging in there at the moment. The fence is just there, but fence on this side's a little bit better, and you got like the shelter here, which is starting to fall apart, unfortunately, but good to go here while we still can. But yeah, bit of an interesting one. And here's Linga, the club that merged with Boinka to form Centrals, and I'm gonna guess they played here until they finished up as a club. This definitely looks like a bit more of an oval. Well, I'm gonna say so, at least because there's a sign here. It's the site of the second football and cricket oval in 1930. So it's very similar. There's a lot of mallee trees on here, but we'll see if there is a cricket pitch out here. It's definitely a little bit more used. There is a little bit of a fire camp set up, and even some toys that some kids used. And you wouldn't believe it, there is a cricket pitch here as well, completely covered, but if we get a bit of space here, you can see the cricket pitch fairly decently. If you know when they last played cricket here, then let us know. It's going to be a long time ago, that's for sure. But yeah, really cool to find this one. There's not too much remnants of like club rooms or anything like that. They probably wouldn't have really had much back in those days, but yeah, cool to see the pitch. So just next to the footy and cricket, the tennis courts started in 1937-38, and gypsum again, seems like. Got a few things here. Old net. Drinks $1. Now this is the place to go. Linga, if you want a drink. Drinks for $1. It's pretty handy, but yeah, not using this anymore. Not at least for the last 20 years probably. Good view of the silos there behind the courts. So just further on is actually the site of the Recreation Reserve Football, Tennis, Cricket 1913. So this was the original one somewhere in here. It's a good spot for camping. Nice little setup. A little spot for cooking there, but yeah. A very small town that's had 2 ovals. Which happens, but still, it's a pretty small place to have that. Okay, here's a bit of a bonus club connected to Murrayville. I've got Karina behind me now. It's just a bit of scrub, but the club started here in 1910 and went to 1913, real early days of football. So they actually moved to another ground, so let's go and check that one out. And here's where Karina moved to, Ngallo. There was another ground in there for a little bit, but Ngallo, they played here for many years until 1974, and there's so much history here. The Ngallo ground is at Pinnaroo. It's just near the Victorian border, or Victorian South Australian border, where they have the checkpoint and you have to hand over your fruit. So it's quite close to that border. It's one of the closest grounds to the border. The only one closest is Surfston, a bit further down south. Now this is just a shed in the middle of nowhere, and it's got all this history. It's crazy. You can spend here ages here just looking at all the stuff they have. One guy who spent a lot of time into this place was Thurl. Ronnie Thurlow. He does Around the Grounds with Thurlow, or at least he did until unfortunately he passed. But you can join that Facebook group, and there is a lot of his videos on there. We'll find him in the photos here somewhere. Here's Thurl there, but I don't know if that's him. But anyway, he's in a lot of these photos. Thurl, a bit of a legend around Ngallo. In fact, I go to footy grounds across South Australia and find this Ngallo sticker that he's put up at some of the old footy grounds that he's gone to. As you can see, Ngallo were the Demons. There they are there. Ngallo were a really successful team in the 70s, but won the last 5 Lameroo and Districts premierships until they merged with the Karoonda League, and then it became the Mallee Football League until Ngallo finished up. Here's Thurl's 200th game in 1992, but that's not actually at this ground. They did play at the Pinnaroo ground from 1974 onwards, so this ground wasn't used. I don't think they used it for training either, given there's no lighting. But anyway, they continued until 2000, and then Ngallo folded. So Ngallo used the away change rooms at the Pinnaroo ground. Here's a thing on the colours that Ngallo wore. So various sashes, and then a V, and then actually wore a Norwood jumper at the end there. But man, there's so much history here. If you love your footy ground history and football club history, there is a heap here. It's just open to everyone as well. There's a visitor's book, history book. I've actually got one of these, luckily enough. But yeah, over this side of the place is more sort of memorabilia. So some old boots, pretty rare to see. I'm sure they were pretty slick back then, but they're not any Nike materials you see nowadays. There's actually tennis there. I don't think they were playing here at that stage, but some of these old premiership ports, you don't really see them now, but that's what they used to roll with back in the old days. There's a tie. But yeah, heaps up here. They're definitely more Norwood inspired than Melbourne Demons inspired. Although here is they do have the Melbourne Demons jumper here. We are in Victoria, but influence from both sides of the border. The coaches, a rundown of every single coach. The last one is Aaron Oakley in 2000. I haven't seen that logo before. That's sick. Trip to hell. But yeah, some of the legends around the place. Even some old photos. That's very old, 1918. The Ngallo Rovers, they were called at that stage. But here's the 70s there, 92. That would have been the last one. They're actually in a grand final. I think it was 2 years before they folded, so it was a pretty good achievement, really. Still got the railing around the outside of the ground here, but yeah, you can see how close it is to the road. If you've been on this road, you've probably seen the oval. They've got the goals here. They wouldn't be, I don't know if they're original, but they've definitely been painted. Big paddock out the back here, but the rest of the ground is surrounded by the Mallee trees, or should point to that end. But yeah, really cool. Imagine if they did it up. It would take a bit of work, but you could actually play a game here, unlike some of the other grounds in this video, you know, if they put in some work. But that's the unfortunate thing, as time goes on, unfortunately some of the players pass and get too old to be able to do stuff for the old club anymore. Considering they finished in 2000, probably the youngest player that actually played for Ngallo is probably about 35 maybe. So yeah, there wouldn't be too many of them hanging around anymore. I don't know if there's any left, then let me know. Out the back here is the old court, netball court. They did have some tennis courts here at Ngallo at another location, but yeah, fairly basic. I guess the last game here was in 73 or 4, whenever the football finished up as well. We're sort of halfway between Murrayville and Pinnaroo here, so there's definitely a big Pinnaroo influence, and in fact they went and played in Pinnaroo, so we'll check out that ground. But there is a bit of a Murrayville influence here at Ngallo as well. This is definitely one of my top former footy grounds. Not a crazy old change room or club room or anything like that. There is a bit of stuff here, like some thunder boxes out the back, but nothing crazy. But yes, I just love the history of this all in the shed. And here's where Ngallo played until they finished up, the Pinnaroo Showgrounds. Now, Pinnaroo is a proper town, just like Murrayville, not like Ngallo. Bit of an interesting story here at Pinnaroo, but yeah, so basically they shared the grounds with Pinnaroo, and you won't find Pinnaroo listed anymore. Now they're the Southern Mallee Suns after merging with Lameroo in 2023, and they're playing the River Murray Football League, so that's the competition based around Murray Bridge. Strangely, they've got Baz's box here in the old Pinnaroo colours, which was they were the Saints. So, well, they were actually Superoos, but they were the Saints colours. You got the red, white, and black. So, yeah, but they were the Superoos, like kangaroos, I guess, but wore the Saints colours. Here's the Baz's box. I guess it's a timekeeping box, based on the wing here. I've actually been to a game here. I saw the Southern Mallee Suns play Cowangie Cats last year, and it was a really good day. Massive crowd, actually. Really, really well attended. Club room setup here is pretty nice. Heaps of stuff on the walls. I can't remember how much Ngallo stuff. Mostly Pinnaroo, Superoos. Wearing the Saints colours there. There's a premiership. Looks like they won over Lameroo. They were the rivals. So basically Pinnaroo and Lameroo were the clubs that least wanted to merge when the Mallee League finished up, but they just had to out of necessity. So there you go. There's the Superoos. All the stuff here, even though they're part of the River Murray now. They've still got the Superoos stuff up on the walls. I actually, yeah, when I went here, I was surprised they had some Perilla Wells stuff up. So that's a whole nother club. The reason I was surprised is because my grandfather played there. But here we go. There's actually, so to confuse you even more, Pinnaroo used to be Pinnaroo North and South, and there's the two jumpers on the left, and then when they merged, they became the Saints colours. But yeah, that's probably a story for another day, maybe. Now here's the club rooms here. You got the Southern Mallee Suns stuff there. Well, it used to be Pinnaroo, now it's the Suns. But here's the away change room in the Ngallo colours. So bit of a Ngallo influence still here. Can't show you inside, obviously, but it's a shed change room set up here. So still fairly old school, and that's what the Ngallo players used to rock with back in the day. But yeah, it's quite strange considering how old the change rooms are compared to the club rooms, which are fairly good. So we got the main Pinnaroo Showgrounds oval there, but there's actually a cricket ground down here, and cricket, don't know the full story in cricket around here, but needless to say, it's struggling like every other sport. But Pinnaroo Cricket Club was listed in 1971 up here. I just want to show you all the different cricket clubs that were here. So Pinnaroo North until 87. Don't know if they became part of the other Pinnaroo club. You got Ramblers, Methodists, a bit of a church influence, and then yeah, the Pinnaroo Cricket Club 71 onwards. So it seems like Methodists finished and then they became Pinnaroo, and then the Pinnaroo North Club just finished up. So that's my take on it anyway. Given there used to be Pinnaroo North and South football, I guess there was a Pinnaroo North and South, or Pinnaroo North cricket anyway. So hopefully that makes some bit of sense. There's a lot of mergers around, that's for sure. I'm pretty sure to play cricket you play for Perilla, which is a town in between Lameroo and Pinnaroo. So a whole nother club. We're not going to get into it in this video, but that's another interesting one. Now, since we're at Pinnaroo, I may as well show you a bit of an extra bonus ground, the former ground here, which isn't even a ground nowadays. Okay, well here's the last ground. Obviously not a football ground, but a tennis court. We're actually in the Pinnaroo Memorial Park, so there was a ground here set up in 1932 by the Pinnaroo Rovers. There were 3 clubs in Pinnaroo. Strange when they don't even have one now. But yeah, they had 3 clubs and they couldn't all share the one oval, so they set up a ground in the Memorial Park, and it was opened up in June 1932. It was one of the biggest ovals in the association. I think it was out the back of the tennis court here, where they have like a bit of a zoo set up, strangely. You can see a lot of kangaroos. They're all looking at us right now, wondering what the hell is this bloke doing. Big kangaroo bloke there. But Yeah, apparently it was here. I've struggled to find photos and whatnot of this. There was even netball as well. Pinnaroo Rovers played 1 year after World War II, and then they finished up and merged with Pinnaroo South. So there was only 2 clubs in the town then, and they played here, Pinnaroo South. They did have a netball club following them around, part of their association called the Warriors Netball Club. Eventually there was the Pinnaroo South Netball Club, or used to be called basketball, but carry on. Basketball or netball, it was the Pinnaroo club that started up and started following the football as well. A netball club started up in 1957. They played in the southeast corner of the ground here, from what I can tell. Now it's just a bunch of kangaroos and emus, but there was a change room set up, and eventually they moved to the showgrounds and shared the netball with Pinnaroo South, and so did the football. The football just moved in at the main ground. Well, Pinnaroo South actually merged with Pinnaroo North after 1974, so they just became the Pinnaroo Superoos after that merger. Hopefully you enjoyed this trip around Murrayville and the surrounding area. Thank you to Michael for showing us around. Really appreciate that. It's always great to have some local telling us what's going on. So yeah, anyway, cheers. Thanks for watching. See ya.